Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of my Japan Travel Diary series. So this day of our travels was actually a few days after the last video, and that's pretty much because we really didn't do a whole lot. So the last couple of days prior to this one were really just us relaxing after so many weeks out exploring Japan. One day was also mostly spent just driving from the Fukui prefecture to Osaka because we only had a couple of days left of our trip before flying back to Melbourne. So to sum up our second last day in Japan, we ended up stopping off at a rest stop for a quick bite. We then continued on our drive to Osaka. Once we arrived in Osaka, we did do a little bit of shopping. So we ended up going to this shop called iZone or iZone, not too sure on the pronunciation there, because my wife wanted to get some sunglasses. We then headed to this nearby elevator where we made our way up to the Marriott Hotel in Osaka. Not because we were going to be staying here, but pretty much just to take in the view of Osaka. We then had a little bit of a look at the Marriott cafe that was in the lobby, where we ultimately decided to not spend almost $15 on a coffee. I mean, seriously. So we looked for another cafe. We chose to go to this Muji cafe that was in the middle of a really big Muji store. The iced coffee and cakes were actually really good here too. After a tiny bit of shopping, we ended up just calling it a night early. We headed back to my wife's aunt's place where we would be spending the last couple of days in Osaka before heading back to Melbourne. So with that day out of the way, this brings us to the main portion of this travel diary episode, which is our final day in Osaka, Japan. So to start, what was the final day in Japan? My cat is chasing a bag that is outside the window. Mind you, we're on the 13th floor, so I don't know what he expects to do with it. Yeah, it's floating in the wind, buddy. You're not gonna get it. Anyway, to start what was our final day in Japan, we headed off to the Sakai area of Osaka to go to this cafe. This was actually a really nice and quiet area of Osaka. The cafe that we went to for breakfast was called Kofunmaya cafe. Kofun means ancient tomb in Japanese, and the reason for the name is actually because this cafe is very close to Daisen-Ryo Kofun, which is the tomb of Emperor Nintoku. I really liked the design of the interior of this cafe. It had a really nice aesthetic with all the greenery. For breakfast, we each got one of these huge set meals, which were kind of like their specialty, and there was only a limited amount of them that they serve per day. I definitely highly recommend it. Right after breakfast, which was so good by the way, we headed straight out of the cafe to explore Daisen Park. There is actually a museum here called Sakai City Museum, located just inside Daisen Park. We didn't actually go into the museum though, so I'm not too sure what it's like. In saying that, this park is really amazing, and it's now up there with one of my favorite spots in all of Osaka. So Daisen Park is right across the road from the tomb of Emperor Nintoku, which is actually one of the largest burial mounds in the world, and is a World Heritage Site as well. This triangular shaped tower is a symbol of Daisen Park. As we got closer to the large pond here, I noticed a large bird thing, which I thought was pretty funny because there was a bird just chilling out on top of it, and it was kind of cute. Just across from the pond was a section of the park called Daisen Park Japanese Garden. Right as we entered, we were greeted with these absolutely stunning bonsai trees. I've actually always wanted to start a bonsai tree of my own. That is until I found out just how much time, effort, and discipline it takes to take care of them. They actually take quite a number of years to grow, and I definitely don't trust myself. There was this really nice traditional looking rest house here, which was such a beautiful place to be able to take some photos from. There was also quite a lot of koi fish in the pond here too, which I will definitely be showing you a little bit more of later. There was a few tourists here, although they all seemed to be pretty much crowded just around these 3 trees here, which was understandable I guess because they were incredibly vibrant. I've mentioned this quite a few times before, but the autumn leaves changing in Japan is always something that just amazes me so much. Coming to traditional Japanese gardens like this one always has me in awe, especially around this time of year. I kind of wish I had brought my Insta360 camera here on this day to do a full walkthrough video of just one continuous shot through here. In saying that, the video probably wouldn't have looked very good because honestly, I was stopping every 5 minutes to take photos because everything just looked so stunning. I feel like we were quite lucky with this being our final day of our trip in Japan because the weather for the most part was just so nice and sunny. As we got further into the garden towards the back, there were so many more of these vibrant red trees. Although they weren't quite as stunning as the ones out the front, they still made me wonder why people weren't really coming all the way through to take photos of these spots as well. Honestly, the whole garden was really quite special. I really like it when you can find places like this, even in a big city like Osaka. I was actually quite surprised that it wasn't more popular. With how nice of a garden it is here, I really thought it would be really quite busy, especially being that it's in Osaka, which I guess is one of the reasons why I actually enjoyed it so much because it really did feel like it was an escape. Following the trail through the garden eventually took us around to the opposite side of where the rest house was at the start. From this side, we could see that there was some steps where you could feed the ducks and the koi fish from. So obviously we had to start making our way over there. On the way, we noticed that there was also some tortoise here as well. So you can buy feed for the ducks and the koi fish from this really old gacha-like machine, which was really cheap. While feeding the ducks and the koi fish, I noticed that one of the ducks started getting really close with each time that we threw food. So I took it as a personal challenge to try to get the duck to eat out of the palm of my hand. A challenge in which I was successful of. While feeding them, we also saw a sagi, which is a type of heron. When we finished feeding the ducks and the koi fish, we started making our way back to the car. We also saw that they had a tiny bamboo forest here as well. I also noticed this pretty big spider in this huge web. Now, these spiders are actually really common. I feel like you see them just about everywhere. We didn't really do anything after exploring Daisen Park. Though we did end up spending a few hours there, we ended up calling it a day pretty early and we just headed back to my wife's aunt's place. We made sure that all of our bags were packed and just relaxed for our last day in Japan. To be honest, neither of us really wanted to return back to Melbourne, but I guess everybody feels that way when you're on holidays, not wanting to sort of return back to your work life. Maybe someday we'll head off to Japan without having to think about leaving, but until then, these travel diaries will have to do. I did think about showing off some of the footage from when we were in our layover at the Hong Kong airport as well, but unfortunately I decided to not really put any of this in because honestly it was quite boring. There really was not much to do in Hong Kong airport at all, that was for free that is. We did manage to find this one spot which was pretty nice, I guess, to just relax and watch the planes take off, but other than that, yeah, there really wasn't a lot to do. Although I did hear that there is quite a lot of construction going on, so who knows, that might change. So yeah, this is the end of what is now my second travel diary series in Japan. If you haven't seen my first one, I did actually make a playlist for it, so if you'd like, you can go and check that out. And if you like this video and this travel diary series, it would really help me out a lot if you would hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So I thought I would finish things up with one final question. If you got the chance to go to Japan for a whole month, where would you go? Let me know in the comments below. Bye for now.